Hello everyone, welcome back to another brand new video. Today's video we're going to be doing our second ever Rizz tier list for Fullmetal Alchemist. If you haven't seen my last Rizz tier list, it's on Attack on Titan. You can go check that out, and also if you want to hear my full in-depth thoughts on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, you can go and check that out. It's an hour-long video. It took very long to make. I would really appreciate you bumping the views up on that. Let's go over the tiers real quick if you haven't seen the AOT one. So we have Unspoken Rizz. You do not need to try to Rizz. It just comes, like, people are just throwing themselves at you. You don't even need to try. You're pulling automatically. Like, no need to approach anyone. You're just pulling. Rizz Lord, you actually have to try, but you're really good at pulling. You just have to try, but you're good. Funny Rizz, you got to be funny about this. You got to try a little bit harder, you got to be funny. You got to be charming. You might not be super attractive, so you have to use the funny Rizz to Rizz, Gets Rizzed up. Simple as it sounds. These are the people who aren't doing the rizzing. It's different from Unspoken Rizz, who don't have to try to Rizz and they're getting approached, but gets rizzed up are the quiet, shy types who end up shockingly getting approached and getting rizzed up. Then we got Scaring the Hoes. It's as obvious as it sounds. Your Rizz is so bad that you're scaring away the hoes, and you never want to do that. And then that brings us to Sexual Harassment tier. Your Rizz is so bad that cops are being called, so you don't like that. We're going to kick the Rizz tier list off with the main character, Edward Elric. We're going to put him straight into the Rizz Lord. He rizzes up Winry. He unintentionally rizzes up Mei Chang. She came to whatever the main country is. I can't even remember what it is now, but she came to not only find immortality, but because she had a crush on Edward Elric. Let's not forget that. And then, of course, when he's trying, he's rizzing up Winry. He's a very successful Rizzer. And then that brings us to Alphonse, who is also a Rizz Lord. He rizzes up Mei Chang as well. And Alphonse, he would definitely pull in real life. He's such a wholesome guy. He definitely has Rizz. Winry gets rizzed up. I would say that. Edward literally rizzes her up. I don't see Winry having insane Rizz. I mean, I guess she's kind of working the charm on Edward, but I wouldn't put her into Rizz Lord tier. Hohenheim. He bagged Trisha Elric. Guys, he is a Rizz Lord. 100%. He's got 2 kids. I'm telling you, if you're a parent in an anime, you have to have Rizz. I'm telling you. There's a slim chance. There is a parent on here later that I see that is not a Rizz Lord, but 9 times out of 10 they are. Trisha Elric, she must have gotten rizzed up. I'm pretty sure Hohenheim was laying the Rizz on her. Maybe it could have been the other way around, because Hohenheim was super depressed. And how did he find Trisha? Did he seek out Trisha? I don't know if this is ever explained in the show and I'm forgetting, but Trisha might have broken down his cold exterior and rizzed him up. So we're gonna go ahead and flip those. If that ends up if that's canonically wrong and Hohenheim's the one who approached Trisha, then you can go ahead and flip those. But that might have been what it is. Panako, funny Rizz. Nope, funny Rizz. I think Panako definitely would have a funny Rizz. She is a proven Rizz Lord, though. She did have kids. One of Winry's parents is her child, so that means she had to have bagged somebody. And I think Panako is the assertive type, but also the funny type to Rizz. That brings us to our first ever Unspoken Rizz of this tier list, Roy Mustang. He does not have to try. He has simps everywhere. They even talk in the show they're talking about how many women he's been with. Yeah, Mustang 100% has that Unspoken Rizz. He has a full squadron of people going to protect him. He could pull any woman he wants without even trying. He's got this in the bag. That brings us to Hawkeye, who is rizzed up by Mustang, so you'd think I'd put her here, but no, Hawkeye is definitely Rizz Lord. Hawkeye, Mustang has the Unspoken Rizz quality, so that's why he's rizzing up Hawkeye, but Hawkeye could definitely pull on her own. If you're rizzed up by an Unspoken Rizz man, that's not a big knock on you, because Unspoken Rizz people are the legends of the Rizz game, But yeah, Hawkeye definitely could Rizz on her own. Same with Havoc. He got a date with Lust. Let's not forget this. He also has a lighter in Death of the Undying that was a gift from his ex. So this is proof once again that he can Rizz. He's a proven Rizzler. That brings us to the other Team Mustang members. And Breda, we do not know much about. I'm going to go in Funny Rizz. I think he could probably Rizz. He'd have to try, though. Same with Kane Fury. I don't know enough about them. This is like, I'm not going to do every single character on this tier list. These are like where I'm cutting it on minor characters because you don't know enough about them, but we're going to throw them in Funny Rizz. Fallman we do know more about, and I do think he would genuinely be Funny Rizz. You know, he's a little wholesome guy. He can be assertive, though. He did take lead in the final battle at certain points, so I think he could definitely pull. Maze, proven Rizz Lord. He could be in Funny Rizz. I think if he didn't have a wife, he would be in Funny Rizz. But because he has a wife and kid, that immediately bumps him up to Rizz Lord. He's a proven Rizz Lord. Funny Rizz is kind of like a tier for less proven Rizzers, you know, and your Rizz Lord is your proven Rizzlers. Alex Armstrong. There's many places he can go. Sexual harassment could genuinely be there because he has a shirt off all the time. He has the personality to scare away the hoes. He could get rizzed up. He is a sentimental guy. He could even have unspoken Rizz. I'm gonna leave him in Funny Rizz though. I think he could definitely Rizz. He's a funny guy, but he is low key teetering. He could teeter down here on a bad day, you know. And that brings us to our second unspoken Rizz, Olivier. 100% unspoken Rizz. Loyal soldiers that will die for her. You could say they're loyal simps. She can definitely gather a group to follow her. She can Rizz without trying 100%. She's got the gravitas. She's got the force to pull without trying. Buccaneer is scaring the host because I can't remember who he's talking to. I think it might be Edward when like Edward has Winry over and he's like and Buccaneer is like complaining. He's like, man, I cannot pull any women. Why do these losers or why does like Edward, who's a short king, get like the hot woman? So that means he has to be doing something wrong. He has to be scaring the host somehow. And also Buccaneer's just a terrifying dude. Miles could be in the same boat. I feel like he's genuinely, it could be unspoken or Rizz Lord. Like he has that energy. He just has that vibe. Or he's also kind of terrifying. I am going to put Miles in scaring the host because there are women that would find Miles attractive and like put him in unspoken Rizz territory. But I think the majority of women he would end up scaring away with how intense he is. Grumman is literally sexual harassment. He literally does this in the show. I can roll the clip. I don't know if I'm going to roll the clip. If you see the clip in the video, that means I rolled it. It's also in my Fullmetal Alchemist video. Weird ass scene. So yeah, Grumman is literally proven sexual harassment, which is not nice. Maria Ross, Funny Rizz. I think Maria Ross can definitely Rizz. Honestly, one of the most underrated characters of the show. I think Maria Ross can definitely Rizz, funnily. I don't think she's like proven Rizzer. And I don't think she gets Rizzed up as well. She is a strong, independent woman. I think she has Funny Rizz. Brosh, however, her co-bodyguard is he's a little bit more submissive. I think he gets Rizzed up. Not by Ross, but I just think in general he probably gets Rizzed up. Barry the Chopper. Definitely scaring the host. I mean, that look at his icon. Look at that picture of him. If he walked up to you, would you and tried to Rizz? You would be terrified. You might even call the cops. I don't think it's sexual harassment level bad, but he prides himself on being scary. I think if he tries to Rizz, he's gonna end up fucking something up. Shao Tucker, like I said earlier, I'm gonna go. A lot of the people who have kids and wives go into Rizz Lord. Except Shao Tucker's going to turn you into a fucking chimera. And I don't know if that qualifies as sexual harassment, but it's definitely a crime. It's definitely a crime. And that's what the sexual harassment tier's for. Rose gets Rizzed up. Easily manipulated, unfortunately, like by Cornello. And Edward talked her out of her funk, but I still think she gets Rizzed up. Kimberly is easily scaring the hoes. Kimberly is terrifying. Honestly, Kimberly gives me vibes that he could like pull women from prison, honestly. Like, do you know how you hear about like serial killers or criminals who will like get married from prison? Kimberly definitely gives me the vibes of someone who would end up doing that. However, I think that doesn't happen a lot of the time, and Kimberly would be scaring the hoes a majority of the time. Izumi and Sig, I would genuinely both put in Rizz Lord. I don't think either of them, holy stutter, I think both of them rizzed on each other. I think they're equal rizzers. They could both pull a lot of people. I think that Izumi and Sig are like proven rizzers. Dr. Nox scaring the hose. Intense, man. And he's like hate-fueled. Yeah, the entire time that Mustang is bringing him people to help, he's just in a horrible mood. And he just like, he hates everyone. He's scaring the hose. Scar as well. The most intense man in the entire show, probably. I could never envision Scar trying to Rizz personally, but if he did, I don't think it would go well. He like talks super Shakespearean and he's intense as fuck. His face is like kind of disfigured. Like Scar Rizzing is not going well. Then that brings us to Tim Marco, who I think pre-face getting blown up by Scar would be here. But then once his face gets destroyed by Scar, he's probably scaring the hose. Yoki is a weird one. I think he gets rizzed up. He is submissive. He listens to Scar. He listens to Marco. He even like has to listen to Mei Chang. Like he does what he's told. You know, he gets rizzed up. Speaking of Mei Chang, she also gets rizzed up. She's provenly rizzed up in the series by Alphonse and kind of Edward. So there you go. Fu scaring the hose. Another, like, I got a comment on my Attack on Titan tier list, or Rizz tier list, that was like, ugly people on the bottom and hot people on the top. And I disagree with that, because a lot of the intense older men, imagine them trying to Rizz you. A lot of anime older men are intense as fuck. And I don't envision them rizzing people. I'm not trying to put them on the bottom because they're ugly. And also in my previous video, I had like Reiner in Scaring the Hose. Reiner's hot. And I had like Rod Rice and Rizz Lord. He's not hot. So I don't know what we're doing here, comments. But the intense older men are not rizzing. So there you go. Lan Fan getting rizzed up. She is loyal to Ling, like extremely. Speaking of Ling, funny Rizz. I think that just because he's an emperor is why Lan Fan is rizzed up by him. But I think if Ling was like genuinely trying to Rizz, he'd be like bad at it, kinda. He'd be funny with it, you know? Greed, proven Rizz Lord. He speaks himself about how many women he's pulled, how he's greedy. He could pull a lot of women, Greed. He can. And that brings us to Lust, who is the easiest character to place in Rizz tier list history. No matter how many Rizz tier lists I do down the line, I don't think any placement will get easier than this. Lust is unspoken Rizz. She is Lust, for fuck's sake. Easily unspoken Rizz. She could Rizz anybody without trying. That's literally her purpose. Gluttony is another. He also gives me submissive vibes. You know he had a crush on Lust because he flipped out when he's like, Mustang, that's the one who killed Lust, and then he blew up the entire hideout. He definitely was pissed when he found out Lust died. He was a fan, and he gets rizzed up. Sloth also is like, he's a fucking oaf. Like he's a weird character to place. He doesn't have a personality. He's probably scaring the hose if he tried to Rizz though, let's be real. Envy, this might be a hot take here. Envy is a Rizz Lord. Think about it this way. Envy, just in homunculus form, like the profile picture you see, walks up to you and tries to Rizz, and they fail. Now you might be wondering, if they fail, then why wouldn't they go in Scaring the Hose? Because then they can shapeshift into another person and go to Rizz you, and maybe that time it works. They have infinite Rizz attempts because they can shapeshift into anybody that they want, and I think that is Envy's true Rizz game plan. Bradley, Führer Bradley, could be in Scaring the Hose. However, he has a wife, and he has a kid that is a homunculus, but he has a wife, that's the point, and he has the gravitas of a man with unspoken Rizz. He's the fear of the country. I think he could pull a lot of women. Would a lot of those women want to be with Bradley because he's the fear of the country and they want like privileges? Yes. However, that is part of the Rizz game. Game is game. Game is game. That brings us to Pride, who is a child, so if he tried to Rizz you, you would probably say no. He's also a scary-ass child, so he's probably scaring the hoes. And I think the last character we're going to do here is Father, who is in sexual harassment. Now you might be wondering, why is Father in sexual harassment? That's because if he walks up to a woman to try to Rizz and they're like, hey, what's your name? And he says Father or Dad or Daddy or anything along the lines of Father, they're calling the cops. And that is going to be it on the Rizz tier list for Fullmetal Alchemist. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you hate this list? Do you love this list? Comment down below, like the video, share with your friends if they're into Fullmetal Alchemist. Go check out my other Rizz tier list if you enjoyed this one. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.